Hi everyone, and for my next in the music chat, I've got a guy that I've admired for such a long time. I've been excited about this one because he's put on some of the best parties that I've been to, I played at, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of you watching this have been to one of Jimpy and Andy's parties. So welcome to Jimpy. Hi mate.
Hello mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. And I honestly got it right. As soon as we messaged a few weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I got loads of questions to ask you. I got a lot, and I'm sure, right? There's some I'll have to do offline. You know, because some of the parties you put on were such amazing. And I suppose that the stories you've got to tell, again, you couldn't really share them all on you. But yeah, so many questions came in my head to ask you. So I was really excited.
When me and Andy go out to the odd party or whatever, you know, we have a few drinks and we sit at my kitchen table and just everything starts coming out, you know, and we look at each other and kind of go, did we really do that? You know? And he's writing some of it into like a book, you know, and he's changing the names. Yeah, he's changing the names and because someone that was involved back then has kind of messaged him and said, do not mention me, you know, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, he's being very careful with it.
Yeah, well, there was so many. We'll come on to it in a bit, but I know obviously Vision 2K, you know, well, that club, and they had so many little nooks and crannies and everything just to get up to really sort of terrible things and all good things. The way you look at it, really.
Good things. All good.
Oh, but do you know what? I'm always keen. I always start off this chat. I'm always interested to find out what was playing at home when people are younger. What was the influences? What was playing at home for you, Jim?
I can't remember there being a lot of music being played at home, but there was a record player, an old record player thing, you know, one of these big unit things with like a record deck and a radio unit and then a tape deck in the middle.
Yeah.
And that was in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And so it must have been I think it was my mum's, and there was an old box of records.
Yeah.
So I used to just go and put the records on. And I must have been 10, 11, maybe, something like that. And there was things like Boney M, Leo Sayer, the tune I used to put on all the time, that Rasputin, you know,
Rasputin,
stuff like that. And then my brother, he was into heavy metal. He's 5 years older than me. So there was things like Motorhead and Saxon and Judas Priest. And so, great, you know, the Carpenters from my mum as well. And it was just a real mad mixture of, like, you know, but I used to love it. I used to sit in between the speakers and put these tunes on and just love the stereo effect, you know, of it all. So yeah, it was just, I was lucky, I suppose, because that was in my room and I got to play around with it. But there generally wasn't that much music being played, although my dad used to like his stuff in the car, you know, on the old cassettes back then and stuff. But yeah, it was it was that kind of stuff until a little bit later when I got for Christmas my own hi-fi system and started finding things on that.
The double deck hi-fi, was it sort of like this?
This was it was more like a Ghetto Blaster thing.
Ghetto Blaster,
with a double tape. It came with like a frame thing, and you could put a record player on the top of it as well. So you could detach the speakers, and it became like a hi-fi unit. But you could also put it together and have it as a Ghetto Blaster. So So I used to make tapes. I used to like get all kinds of stuff and record things off the radio, and you know, it was all like, now that's what I call music volume 1 or whatever. And So that thing just opened my ears. I loved that little system. And
how did you get into
the radio?
How do you get into the dance scene now? What was like? Was it sort of something you give a tape to you, and or how do you get it? How was the transition? School?
It was, I think, first of all, I used to mess around with that tape deck thing with the radio, and I came across a pirate radio station. And it was in Leicester, because I was living in Leicester at the time, and it was called Fresh FM. So this pirate radio station was pumping out adverts for raves. It was pumping out rave music, and it just got me, you know, it just instant, whoa, what is this? You know, something is like radiating with me here, you know, and I was listening to it all the time. And that radio station was actually DJSS 5HQ, Formation Records. You know, that was the big thing in Leicester, you know, so it was obviously a big jungle techno thing.
Yeah.
And then around that time, I also went to Ibiza. I was only 15. I think I was, in fact, I know I was 15. And I shouldn't have even gone because I went with a friend. He was 16, I was 15, and I think we should have had an adult with us. So I don't even know how I got there.
Because you went to two on your own?
Yeah, we went to Ibiza. So like we went to Ibiza, and I'd already started listening to this music on the radio station, but he wasn't really into it at all. And so I remember one night I said to him, I want to go out. And he didn't want to go out. So he stayed in and I went out. And next to where I was staying, it was right near the Egg, you know, in Ibiza.
Yeah.
There was a club called Star Club. Well, that became Eden later on. So I went in there on my own. So I'm 15 years on my own.
15 years old.
Yeah. And Technotronic was playing live.
And,
yeah, they were, you know, Pump Up the Jam and all that, you know. So I went to the DJ booth, bought a tape, still got the tape as well from it and stuff. And I just, again, it was just like, wow, amazing. And I met this girl actually from Birmingham. She was like 19. She took me back to her hotel. And that was a different story. And we won't go there. And then my mate said to me the next day, he was like, you know, where did you go? What did you do? And I was trying to tell him about it all and everything. He was a bit like, what? You know?
Was it the news with a 19-year-old girl that he was like, what? Oh, boy.
Everything. He was just like, really? So it was. And that was it. So when I came back, more Fresh FM. And then I had a mate that also started listening to it as well. And we decided to try one of these raves in Leicester. And it was called Nemesis. It was like in a nightclub. And Nemesis, then it blew us away, basically. The music, the vibe, you know, we were probably only 16 by then. And then that became Total Chaos at a place called Starlight 2001, which became really well known in the Midlands. It was like the Eclipse in Coventry and Shelley's in Stoke. And it was, you know, everyone from Carl Cox, Top Buzz, Mickey Finn, all the touring DJs, they all came and played Total Chaos. And that was our regular Saturday night then. We got more friends involved. They started to come as well. And every Saturday, without fail, Total Chaos. And then we started doing the bigger raves as well, Amnesia House in Northampton, and you know the big ones and stuff. So going to motorway services down at Leicester Forest East afterwards, and all the ravers congregating. It was just, you know, a mad time. So it was all because of that hi-fi, really.
That's brilliant.
That radio station, that was it. It was the trigger.
Yeah, I love that. That's 15 years old, just you and your mate in Ibiza, and you went on your own. That's brilliant.
And I look back and I think, hold on, I'm sure I shouldn't have even been allowed. I don't even know how we did it. I don't know whether they just didn't realize or whatever, but it was just me and my mate.
That is fantastic.
Don't even know why we chose Ibiza. I do remember though that most of the holiday we spent in that strip bit, you know, where all the bars are. Bars, basically. That's where we mostly were. But that wasn't my, you know, I already kind of wanted something else, you know, and that's why I went out on my own. And
well, they see Technotronic live in Ibiza as well. That's going to blow you away.
Yeah. It's funny because the other day, Richie V, you know, Richie, he posted something on his Instagram, and he knows the guys from Technotronic, or one of the guys. And he posted something up, and I wrote this little story on there, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's
brilliant." It's Eric, because Eric has been what a lovely guy, lovely guy, and he's been pushing in the music stuff as well. And really, he's Cardiff based.
Oh right.
Yeah, lovely guy. But I love that, Jim. I love that. So that's right. You were Leicester. Then how did you come to Cardiff?
Uni. So I came to Cardiff to do podiatry, feet, all that kind of stuff. I always wanted to do something medical. So I was doing that, but I noticed straight away as soon as I arrived. Well, my parents dropped me off, Hall's the residence. It was kind of like, right, okay, bye, you know. And I'd actually been to a rave the day before. So I'm here in Cardiff on my own, sitting in this little room, you know, like a little prison cell, like they were back then.
Yeah.
Thinking, what? Hey, I've left all my mates behind. I'm in Cardiff, still like thinking, whoa. And I went outside, and it was a really sunny day, and I sat on this bench in the garden of the halls of residence, and this guy came out, sat next to me, and the next thing was we became really close friends, and he was from Bristol. He was into house music.
Yeah.
And then we met another guy who was a guy called Rich Barley. You might know Barley, Tricky.
Yeah.
So he was also in halls, and we instantly formed a little friendship, this little group, and started to look for things to go to in Cardiff. And the thing at the time that we got straight into was thanks to Dan, actually, because he knew house music, and I was all from the jungle techno stuff.
Yeah.
There's I think Ecuador at Metros.
Yes. Yeah.
Which just got me into house, sound, and it was amazing. You know, people like Nicky Holloway, I think John Kelly, Cowboy Records, DOP, DIY, you know, little club, underground thing. We were there all the time without fail. You know, it was that was our new thing. That or Silhouettes on Warren Street, the Loop. Used to go to things in the Loop as well, and then just got to meet people, you know, as we're out and about.
Yeah, and Cardiff's a good city because it's not that big really for a city to network and get to know people as well.
Yeah, it was. I still wanted to bring some of the music that was being played up there in Leicester kind of down here. So I spent some of my student grant or whatever we got back then on a set of decks. Yeah. So in my halls of residence, I got my belt drive turntables, started shopping. So places like Spillers. Yeah. It would have been, I think that probably was where I was first going. First records would have been things like Cowboy Records and stuff like that. It was the stuff that was being, you know, coming through from these Ecuador nights, basically. Yeah. Started to record some tapes. Met another guy called Reese, involved with it all, and he had done some work with a guy called Peter on an event in the City Hall. Yeah. And the first dance event in the City Hall, and I think it was Sasha that was playing. Yeah. And Reese introduced me to Peter, and Peter then was Peter of the Hippo Club. Right. Basically.
Is that how you became a resident of the Hippo Club?
And that was the link. Yeah. I mean, I gave Peter a tape. I gave also, and I get to know Peter through Silhouettes, but it was actually Pablo, Peter's business partner, that actually asked me to come and join in at the Hippo. Yeah. Ollie was the first resident. Yeah. Ollie J, and then I came in as the second. And at first it was just me and Ollie, and then Pablo would come in, and then a little bit later Shane Morris came in as well. Yeah. And yeah, that was a really good time. Really, really, really good.
What a club. What a club. What a club. Yeah, that was when was that? 94, was it?
That must have been that must have been 93.
93.
Yeah, I think it was late 93 or something like that. So the way it used to be, from what I remember, was Saturday nights we'd do the resident nights. Yeah. Was at first just me and Ollie, so we'd do the whole night together. So I'd do the first bit, he'd do the second bit, and then we'd do back to back then to the end of the night. And then Shane got involved, and I think the guest DJs were on the Friday night at that point. And it was just mental because every Saturday, you know, the crowd was just screaming. I've still got the picture in my head, you know, one more, packed to the rafters. Yeah. Just the tunes we used to drop at the end of the night, you know, Bizarre Inc., Playing with Knives, A Spiritual, Always Something There to Remind Me, and just these amazing tracks. And then, you know, people like Sasha would play there on a regular basis, and John Digweed and John Kelly, and well, all of them.
Did Tony DeVitt ever play a Hippo Club?
I think he might have done after I'd left the Hippo. Yeah. Because I had a little bit of a fallout after a couple of years or whatever, you know, your head gets a bit big when you're that young and you're playing whatever. And I think he did, yeah. In fact, I'm sure he did. But I even met people like Sven Bath. You know, he played there.
Did you?
Jeff Mills played the Hippo.
Wow.
You know, Faithless, Sister Bliss. I mean, she used to come down and she used to play test pressings of, you know, the massive, what we have come the the Faithless tracks, you know, Insomnia and Salvamere and all that stuff. She would bring those down and test them on the crowd.
Wow.
You know, and we'd be like in the booth and she'd be dropping these tracks. And, you know, before they even blew up, you know, you got Republica did a live PA. That's Enjoy, basically. There's so I look back and I think, Boy George, he sang Come a Chameleon to me one night because I asked him whether he could play it. And, you know, you look back over these times and think, wow, what the people I was meeting, you know, and I was giving tracks to people like Sasha on a DAT tape, you know, and then eventually getting test pressings done and giving them to him and stuff, you know, and it was just a crazy time when you look at how big some of these DJs have become. Even Sasha now, you know, globally superstar, massive.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal. And to think that, you know, Nick Warren, or, you know, all these amazing DJs that have kept their consistency for all these years.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of places that they used to come to, and we were the residents. It's crazy. It's almost surreal.
Yeah. But getting to know them back then, it would be completely different if you met them now for the first time, because they were on the start of their build up then as well as of their careers. Well, actually, Sasha would have been up there.
He was big. He was up there, and so you felt, because we were young, obviously, as well, and someone like Sasha would come in. You know, obviously you felt a little bit intimidated by such a powerful force kind of thing, but at the same time, most of them were really nice to speak to hang around with afterwards as well. Some would hang around afterwards. Some would have to shoot off for another gig. So some we got to know really, really well. Some were a little bit arrogant, you know, but that's, you know, kind of went with the territory. But and some I've managed to always keep a little bit of a link to, because Carl Cox, for example, you know, if I write a track now, even I've started writing tracks again fairly recently. I can send it straight through to Carl Cox's manager, and he'll pass it straight on to Carl. Carl will, if he likes something, he'll always send a message back and, you know, kind of say, yeah, this is amazing or whatever, and I'll play this here and stuff. So, you know, Sasha, I got tracks on his album and stuff, the Global Underground album, and so, you know, it's nice to have managed to keep that bit of a connection to be able to still pass tracks out, you know, when I do stuff
after all these years. So when did, because when we was talking, I think you won a DJ competition, and it was quite a big one, or you were involved in a DJ competition.
It was it was Ministry of Sound in association with Music Magazine. So Music Mag was like Mix Mag, basically.
It was huge.
And I got down to the final in London on some stage, and there was all the Rob de Bank actually was one of the judges. He was young then as well, so and I came second in that.
So you just be as a DJ in front of them, and then they just scored
15 minutes.
That's it.
15 minutes. It was like a short set, and I had to. And the thing is with me, the way I play, and I've always played, really, is I tend to like to play tracks quite long. So, you know, if a track is 7 minutes long, I play quite a lot of that track, because I'm more about trying to keep things smoother for the journey, and then nice transitions. But for that, I think I went through 20 tracks or something in the 15 minutes. So it was more, I'd obviously planned it out, but it was more like influenced from people like hip hop DJs and stuff. Because I remember going to the DMC World Championships, and those guys were literally dropping, you know, they would play 5 seconds of a track. It would be like, and then straight into the next one and the next one, and just watching these guys do incredible stuff. So I had to kind of do a similar thing, but with my style, and it kind of worked. Well, it obviously
worked. It obviously worked.
So that was pretty good. I don't know if I got a great deal from it apart, but it's a nice thing to have.
I always remember that from when I think, you know, that's why I said to you, I always remember you being social, because people, when we went out, he said, "Oh, that's the guy with the DJ competition," and that was very first sort of you were playing. I think it was a midweek in Vision. What was it called before Vision?
Apocalypse. It was also Forum.
Apocalypse, I think it was, and so that's how somebody mentioned that about you. But let's jump on to the Vision 2K, Enter the Dragon. Now, you know, this is where obviously mine and your relationship started here as well, because you invited us to do the back room there. But you're obviously, what parties you put on in there, unbelievable parties. And I'm sure that, you know, There's a lot of marriages have been met in that place. But how did it all come about? Enter the Dragon.
Totally random, really. I mean, I was doing a small night in Punana called Progression. So I was doing that, I think, a Friday night. I think it was every Friday. So it was only 150 people, but it was doing really well.
Yeah.
And then I'd still go to other clubs. And I knew Julian Black from the Astoria, which became Vision. But I also knew through Julian, the laser guy, Toby, who became a good friend. And I'd also known the managers that always would get switched over. So you had Jim Wiley and Pierre Vickers. So these are two kind of managers that would get placed by the owner, Brian, into that venue, and they'd do like 6 months or a year, and then they'd switch it for the other one. And then you want to be running the Astoria in London and stuff. So I got on with them. These guys, they were very old school club managers, a lot older than me. But for some reason, I seem to have a bit of a connection with them. And so I went to, from what I remember, the Vision, it became Forum. So it was Astoria, then it became Forum. And then the Hippo Club was closing. So basically the owner brought in the Hippo Club people, basically. Yeah. And then that's when they rebranded it Apocalypse, and they redid it all out as Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it was something like the opening night. I think Sasha was playing that night, Ferry Corsten. It was a big lineup. And I just went down there to enjoy the night, just to be the same as everyone else. I was having a dance and having a good time. And Jim Wiley saw me and he said, "Oh, do you want to have a chat?" I was like, yeah, fine. So went out into his office and he just said, "Look, would you like to get involved with the club, basically, run some nights down here? We're not too happy with a few things." Didn't go into detail, but he just said, "Where do you stand on it?" And obviously I'm looking at this big venue. I'm 25 maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, yeah, we'll talk." So he got Mason, Brian, the owner, involved, and they offered me some decent money, basically. Residency, whatever I wanted financially to run the night.
Yeah.
And they were going to bring this guy in from London, well, from Ibiza, actually, James Mitchell. Now, he was very much involved with the Terrace at Space in Ibiza, and he's done things in Astoria in London. So they introduced me to him. He was older than me, had loads of experience. So we just got on. Lovely, lovely guy.
Yeah.
And then we started brainstorming names. He actually came up with the name Enter the Dragon because he thought of the dragon for Wales and stuff like that. And I think it had been an old night many, many years ago in London that people used to go to. So he wanted to resurrect that. So it was kind of something to do with that. So it was James and I. Then around that time, I also was DJing quite a bit here and there. And I met Andy at a club in Bargoed. He was managing. We hit it off. And then Andy got involved as well on a local level, because we needed someone on the local level as well with me, because I was more on the DJ side and everything and booking artists, but Andy was going to be on the promotion side, sort of thing. And that was it. It was just a case of Brian said, "I can get Paul Oakenfold for the night."
As you do.
Yeah, because they all supported the same football club and everything. They're all very much into Chelsea or whatever. Yeah. So, and he's like, "I can go, Alex Peer, my best mates, and Brandon and Lisa Loud." So they were all part of that kind of family down in London. Yeah. So they pulled in Lisa Loud and Andy Manston from Clockwork Orange and Paul Oakenfold for the opening night. All I had to do really with Andy was pull together the rest of it, the entertainment.
Paul Oakenfold was the open night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we did just over 2,000 people on that opening night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was mental, absolutely mental. And we had TV crews there and all sorts, And
what was there?
Yeah.
You saw them regular. Let me show them the regular there. I know it was something featured, but the opening night.
Yeah, the opening night. It's actually on YouTube, the video from it. So I've got a bit of hair, walking around talking about the venue and stuff. But we added our flavor to what they'd done with Apocalypse. We brought in more production, more lights again, boosted the sound system even more. Did what we could, and obviously brought in people such as yourselves to do the jungle room.
Yeah,
It was nice, and yeah, it was what a time.
Yeah,
what a time. It was amazing. It was as good front of house as it was backstage. That's the bit that Andy's going to be writing about.
That's the bit. I remember walking in there something thinking, Mike, this is just. I know I was a fresh boy from the valleys coming to Cardiff, and then we just started it, and then I got introduced to you two, and thinking, my God, you took me to a different level. But a good level. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. So Paul, looking for the opening night, you had Dave Morales in there as well.
Yeah. So he booked Morales, and he also booked Todd Terry.
Yeah.
To be honest, looking back, they weren't right for that, because most of the DJs were more on the harder tip or the trancey kind of tip. We had John 00 Fleming was a monthly resident.
Yeah.
He's still amazing even today. And for some reason, Brian and because they could book them, they wanted to book Todd Terry, and they wanted to book Morales and that. But looking back, they were some of the more quieter nights, because it just wasn't musically what they wanted. It hard and banging down there. They really that
really front room is just when fairly every week, every Friday, you'd be consistently getting amazing numbers.
It was really, really good. And I look back now, I've listened to some mixes with Andy actually from that era. They're 145 main room BPM, and you just think, what? Even at Cellar Door in the last kind of 8 years, we peak at about 128, maybe 130 on a crazy night, and you think, 45. And we were thinking nothing of it, till 6 a.m. Bonkers, isn't it? Just crazy. And then you see these DJs, you see videos of Nina Kravitz or Charlotte DeWitt or whatever, and they're playing tracks. I'm not putting them down, by the way, but they're playing tracks mixed in with their techno, which is tracks that we were playing back in Vision. It's hard house, and you just think, wow, that's mad, because it's got the pace.
Yeah, completely. The energy is there, definitely there.
But now I'd last 5 minutes. I'd walk in, I'd walk out. I'd be like,
no. So Enter the Dragon, right? And then there was Raw. So Raw was down in Evolution.
Yeah.
So that was why change the club? Because it was going well, and then you thought, well, actually, we needed a change.
I can't remember what triggered it, but we had some fallout between us and Brian, the owner, and Pierre. At the time, I don't know why. Silly, stupid stuff it will have been at the time. Egos getting in the way, whatever. So we basically argued that Enter the Dragon was ours, because we worked on it. It was we thought it all up and everything. They argued that they owned it because they paid for it. So they had a good case. But they were throwing lawyers at us and all sorts. They were like chucking these solicitors letters at us. And then there's me and Andy there, after an after party, writing responses. And we did this for a long time. So every time they throw a legal letter at us, we'd be like sending these responses back. And in the end, we came to an agreement that we'll keep the dragon logo, because we'd registered in our name anyway.
Right.
So the dragon logo would be remain ours, because they couldn't do anything about that. But the Enter the Dragon bit, they would keep. And then they ended up using the dragon anyway, and that was it then. So we came up with Raw, which kind of also fit obviously with the dragon. That down at Evolution. They kind of kept a version of Enter the Dragon going. Vision. And then eventually we all became friends again. I think we did Raw for a year or so, or maybe a bit longer. I'm not sure. And then for whatever, we all kissed and made up. And I remember Pierre showing me the bills for the legal stuff, and they'd spent $7,500 on legal bills. Me and Andy had spent nothing. He was laughing about it by then. He was like, look, we spent all this money on legal bills, you bastards, and stuff. So it was
Of that time, right? What would you say is the best sort of, or your favorite party? Perhaps either DJing or as you know, for actually for the DJs that's for you personally thinking, I remember that one was amazing, or the actual event itself.
I love the nights what we did with Fergie in Vision, and in Evolution. Actually, he always pulled the biggest crowd. And I liked what he played. He was playing techno back then. You know, he was light years ahead of what these techno DJs are playing now. And he was engaging. He was fun to be around.
He was only young, wasn't he?
He was young, yeah. And I think we had his birthday party with us, and we got him a cake and everything, and he loved that and stuff. And I know Andy's remained friends with him. He's met up with him in Vegas and stuff since. And actually, just a couple of weeks ago, Andy sent one of my tracks onto him, and he responded and said absolutely, amazing and stuff. So, which was nice. So, I'd say that Fergie nights, Mauro Picotto. So we were the first people to bring Mauro Picotto, and that was the time when Mauro Picotto's tracks were just massive as well. He was brilliant. Paul Van Dyke, he was good. He was like playing this chunky stuff. I don't know what he does now. I don't really hear about him. So they were really, really good nights. There were so many. John Fleming, he always used to play the last 2 hours in Vision, and he was very smooth and played trance, but his own style, not cheesy trance, just a more progressive kind of trance and take it somewhere.
Yeah.
But I suppose from a DJ point of view, even though those nights were amazing, I'd still probably put the early Hippo as the best of everything I've ever played anyway. Cellar Door was amazing. We've done some incredible Cellar Door events. When we took over DC, we did 1,000+ people, no big name. Me and Matt, other local DJs. Phenomenal, absolutely rocking. But still, if I had a time machine, I think I'd want to go back to that era to play just once more in the early Hippo, because there was no internet. There was no mobile phones. It was still fresh and raw. Everything just, it was it was clicking. Everything was clicking around those early 90s. You had all the different rave scene going on and stuff. Those DJs, and it was just a special time. It was all special, all that 15 years, but that was something else.
Do you know, Charles, share a story with God and Ollie, because Ollie actually taught me to DJ. I used to pay him. Right, I don't know if he told you this, right? But I paid him. I can't remember what it was, but to go around his house, he'd have the double jack so he can listen to me mixing, and he'd have his records there, and I take his little bag of records around his flat in Abercynon, and I went on for a few weeks. I got introduced through a mate, Goody, who knew Nat and Ollie at the time, and so go around there after work. And then I became friends with him then. And and you were, because he got me a few gigs in the back room in the bar area. So I was sat behind the bar playing like 5-6 hour sets. I was still living in the valleys then, and the scenes I used to see. I used to be there as a punter, dancing to you on the podiums, a few years before, and then I came down and sober as a judge, seeing like, my God, this club is just bananas.
They were. It was the intensity of it. I just look back and it was like, I remember, we'd be dropping these tracks, and it was just the engagement and the kind of, everyone it'd be like stepping onto some kind of a spaceship and just not getting off, everyone was going in the same direction, and it was just, you'd look here, you'd look there, you'd be looking everywhere, and every individual was kind of doing their own thing, and yet all together, in this amazing atmosphere. And it was just, it was mad. It was absolutely mad. And it's like it was yesterday. Amazing, amazing pictures in my mind of it. And it was just the intensity. And I think back as well, vinyl, no digital stuff, a very basic mixer, one monitor. But that's what it was. That's all we had. We didn't even have stereo monitors or anything like that. It was just that's how raw it was.
Yeah.
The sliders on the mixer were probably like this long. It was like something out of an airplane. Like throttles and stuff. It was just. But that's what it was. It was mad. It was absolutely mad. Now when I jump on my decks, I'm sweating. I'm like, Jesus Christ, get 5 or 6 mixes together on vinyl, and I'm like, whew, and then back to then, it was all night long. It's weird. It's really, really weird. It's how we managed to do it in all that intensity. It's crazy.
Yeah. So after Raw, you took a break for a bit, and then Cellar Door was born. Was that right?
Yeah. So I got to a point, I think, where it was weird because I'd signed to Paul Van Dyke's label.
Yeah.
And he'd got just put a track on one of his big albums.
Yeah.
I got the track onto Sasha's album. I'd done stuff on Hernán Cattáneo.
Wow. So this is early 2000s?
Early 2000s, yeah. So I was getting tracks signed left, right, and center onto various different big compilations. Big compilations. And things were going well, but at the same time, I wasn't making enough money from it. So it looked good on paper, but really from a financial point of view, the gigs were not really paying much. There wasn't really enough of them coming in. And I was still doing a lot better, I suppose, than everyone else. But people think that you're doing really, really well when actually, it was tough times in that respect. Not too much partying, but I guess it got to a point as well where you burn yourself out.
Yeah.
I went and DJ'd in Hong Kong, and I flew there, got off the plane, got taken out for some food, DJ'd, went to a party, and then they dropped me back at like the gate basically, and then fly all the way back. And it was like doing crazy stuff like that. And it took it out of me for eventually. So I just started to knock it on the head, and I came up with an idea for a computer game, which I wrote down, stuck in my pocket. Yeah. And then I found this idea, and I showed it to my accountant, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's quite interesting." And he hooked me up with a guy who's a computer programmer.
Yeah.
And all these years later, that guy is the CTO of our company.
Yeah.
And that was the start of me getting into something completely different.
Yeah.
Because I knew I always had this sensible head behind it all, behind all the madness of I need something for the future as well, a fallback. I need something else.
Yeah.
So I kind of left it all. I got out of it. I just had enough. And then about 2010, I think it was, Matt Keefe, basically he always used to say to me, "Come on, Jim, you want to do it again, and I was like, no, I didn't. I was like, no, I'm done. He goes, but I know of a venue we can have. Yeah. And it was the Vaults, basically. And Backroom had been doing some stuff in there, and I've been hearing about these backroom parties, and but something had gone on with them. So we went down and had a look at it. And as soon as I saw it, I just went, we have to, don't we? We have to do this. And that was it. We but what I did say, and he agreed, it was Matt that came up with the name Cellar Door, but we both agreed we didn't want to do big name DJs at it at all. We wanted to do locals, focus on the venue itself, good production, good sound system, keep the door price down, and try and work it like that. And it worked a treat.
Yeah, because the thing, the concept was just like local DJs, wasn't it?
It was just local DJs. So
that's giving back to the community as well, I suppose. You try and encourage people and giving everybody else a chance.
So many local DJs in there that were playing peak time sets, warm up sets, depends on what their style and stuff. And we were just, and then we had the other room as well. So that was more on the housey tip. So there was local DJs in there. So the whole thing was local DJs. Yeah. And it worked. Yeah. So because of that, we could keep the price down. Yeah. And we could, we could sell it out. So we were doing a regular 500 people a month, once a month in there. It was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So with no guests. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And then typically a few years later, someone starts wanting to get a bit more greedy, as people always do, can we make some more, blah, blah. And it's like, well, don't rock the boat. We've got something great here, but and I won't go into the details too much, but there was another fallout and all that. And me and Matt decided to go our own way. well, the guy that owned the venue,
kept
it going. And although the police were a little bit involved as well, they kind of wanted, we were going to go for a full license because we're running on temporary events notices.
Yeah.
You can only get 12 of a year. And then once we were applying for the full license, the police started to say, oh no, you've had all these issues down here. These issues were like minor issues, like someone had a mobile phone nicked or something.
Yeah.
And we came under the microscope.
Right.
They basically closed the place down.
Yeah.
So they really put the kibosh on us, these two coppers. And one of them was just retiring. She was retiring. And the other one was moving to a different department. And it was almost like they wanted to have their final,
say, yeah.
And they really caused us some issues. And surprise, once we'd gone and the place had been closed down, 3-4 months later, it opened up again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were a bit gutted from it. But then me and Matt went on and did stuff, in other venues, Club I for Back and BC. Done loads of stuff up the valleys, Merthyr. We've done the barn raves and stuff, and everything's been great. So it's been really good. Although now we're kind of on a bit of a hold. Yeah. Because he's having his missus having another baby, and I'm busy, so we just thought we'll take a little break.
Yeah.
We're looking at some venues. We are going to do something, but no rush.
Yeah. Just find the right thing. But as you said earlier, then you're back on the production side of get things again. You are. That's exciting then.
Yeah, I just invested into some lovely Adam speakers, these A77Xs, if anyone's into their speakers and stuff, just phenomenal. This big fat Adam sub. Got back into Ableton Live, got some lovely plugins and stuff, and a thing called an Ableton Push 2. It's like a controller thing. And just started having a tinker. Did a couple of tracks, sent them out to some people. There's a guy called Horatio. He's getting hammered by everyone at the minute, from Sanchez to Carl Cox. All his stuff's getting hammered. He's just signed 2 of the tracks to one of his labels.
Brilliant.
And I was like, well, hold on, I've only been doing this for a month and I've just signed 2 tracks straight to his label.
Really?
So, which was mad because I literally just boshed these tracks out, and I think they were inside me that just needed to come out. And then I'm working on something at the minute what I'm really, really into. It's kind of, I hate genres. I don't even know where I'd place it. Maybe it's progressive, a little bit techno influence, but not that much. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah,
but
good music
like this.
It's good music.
Well, I think so. I think so. So I've been learning these speakers. Really, really got to learn when you get new speakers. So you've got to learn them. You got to get your ears used to them. You got to mix down your tracks and then listen to them on lots of different sound systems. The car's always a really good place to listen to something. Make sure that they're balanced and that. So obviously, when you send your track out then to all these DJs, the first thing they're going to notice, or I do, is the sound quality. It's got to match everything else they're playing. Otherwise, if you can't even get that right, they're going to put it on for a few seconds and they're going to turn it off. So it's not just about the structure of the track and the track. You got to get the levels right and stuff, and everything these days is so loud. Everything's pushed, compressed, and limiters and stuff. So basically, what I tend to do is I'll mix down a track and I'll use compressors and limiters and stuff, and then I'll put it into Tractor or Record Box, and I'll mix with it with other tracks, well-known tracks that I know really well from playing out myself. So things like Dubfire tracks or Holland and stuff like that, stuff that I really like. And I'll mix in and out of my new tracks with those to check that it mixes perfectly without having to bring up the gain. Right. It just sounds balanced kind of thing. So, I'm just, while I'm working at home around my real work, I just have one of my screens on and keep adding to these tracks and stuff. So it's nice.
A month and you had 2 tracks signed. That's you.
I know. I was blown away by that. So
I got 2 of the tracks. You still got it. You still got it.
I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's nice. It's nice to be able to do that. So, yeah. But you know what? When I used to produce tracks years ago, it got to a point where the pressure was on to try and always produce something to get signed or to be played. And now I don't feel any of that at all. There's no pressure. I'm producing stuff purely for, I literally sit here in this chair, these things pounding, and I'm in my bubble.
Yeah.
And if I'm enjoying that, then that's it for me. It's like a hobby.
Yeah.
And if I can send that out and other people then choose to play it or sign it, well, that's brilliant. But it's just purely, I'm not trying to make a name. I'm not trying to become a DJ again or anything. DJ. I'm not, it's more about just writing music, and hopefully some people are going to like it. And, and that's why I do it. So it's cool.
Yeah. That's great. So well, going on that then, right? So your influences, like you mentioned, Dubfire. If you were to put a night on now, what guest DJs, what would it look like? If you had like a room 1, room 2, room 3, what would you think? Money's not an object. I'm giving you lots of cash here, right? You can go anywhere in the world.
I would choose Carl Cox.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
You could have him on all night, to be honest. That would do me. I tell you what, I'm not afraid to say it. I like trance. I've always liked trance as well. A lot of people go, "Oh my God, it's trance," but I would quite happily put Sasha on to warm up. Yeah. Having it warming up, building beautifully. Yeah. Into someone like Carl Cox, taking it on, getting it really rolling and jacking, and finishing off with someone like Paul Van Dyke. Yeah. So the whole thing is just like this. Yeah. Going through. So you've gone through the progressive stuff, you've gone through the techno and the tribal stuff, and coming out the back end with the big euphoric banging stuff. Because people like Paul Van Dyke as well, he's never really gone down the EDM, more cheesy kind of route. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Everyone's into their own thing. I'm not going to slag any sounds off, but he's not gone into that. Although I did just call it cheesy, so maybe I did. But that for me would just be amazing. It's but there's so many good artists. There's people like that Boris Brescia, is he called or something? He wears like a mask.
Clapton, is it?
No, they do as well, don't they? Boris Brescia. No, have a listen. Really good. Really good.
I know who Carl Cox is. I know who Sasha is. I know Paul Van Dyke is.
Yeah, well, this, some of the new ones obviously are amazing. Who else? Stephen Bosdin or something, bald-headed guy. He's awesome. Yeah. There's a lot, but that would be I think I'd be quite happy with that.
That, I think, I'm sure that Sasha, Carl Cox and Paul Van Dyke. I've never seen Paul Van Dyke in the Emporium. Unbelievable. Yeah, it was immense. And
that night, Paul Van Dyke played in the Emporium. I gave him a white label of a new track, and he listened to it in the headphones and he put it straight on.
Really? Did he?
Yeah. He put it straight on that night, because that was around the time that I'd been sending stuff to him, so he knew who I was. Yeah. I don't think we'd met by then, or maybe we had once. But I gave him a white. He just literally went like that, put it on, mixed it straight in as the next track.
Wow.
Which was like, really. And that was the track then that he signed for the Ministry of Sound thing.
Was it the same one?
Yeah.
That's for a DJ of his caliber to come in. That's a big wow.
Then not long after that, actually, I was in Ibiza. I think I was with Steve Armstrong. I'm pretty sure I was,
Mad Steve.
Mad Steve. And we were in the middle of the dance floor in Amnesia. She got like 8,000 people or whatever. And Paul Van Dyke opened his set with that track and another one of mine. So it just started.
That must have been a buzz.
It was like Kevin and Perry, because that's where that was filmed. It was literally a Kevin and Perry moment. So some, amazing times, some good things.
So going forwards now, then what's the next journey for Jimpy?
Keep doing a few tracks, just for fun. But 2022 got something really interesting coming along. Got 2 other DJs involved that I absolutely love to bits. You might know something about that. Who knows? And yeah, that's going to be coming along. Hopefully in February, we're going to be talking about that more soon.
Yeah,
so people need to look out for that. But it's not been done before. I think it's going to be a little bit special.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to say too much just yet. But I think it's going to put a smile on a few people's faces.
So watch out for watch this space and on that.
Yeah. So we're not, we're not over yet. We're about to try something different. So it's nice to try something different. Again, Andy's involved, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've not done anything because I was doing Cellar Door with Keefe and Keefe, he does know about it, and he's already said, he's going to be there. He's going to be on the dance floor. So
yeah.
Looking forward to dropping
exciting times. Yeah, definitely exciting times.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So apart from that, just me look after my daughter. She's only 5, so I have a lot of fun with her, and just keep on having fun. Really, just being happy.
Do you know what? I just talking to you this afternoon, Jim. It's been, I've been instantly when we were talking about the Vision 2K and the road days. You mean it, and even the Hippo, and I also got to know you at the Vision days. It was just immense, and like you said, if you could get a time machine just to go back for one night, it would be, because they were special days. I said they're amazing days. It was just what you done, you and Andy done in Enter the Dragon. Was give a lot of energy to everybody else to actually and it was a lot of community as well. You brought a lot of people together. Yeah, you brought a lot of people together.
Again, because we had the Hard House room as well. So there was a lot of Hard House DJs.
Yeah.
There was the Tunnel Bar. So obviously before, because we opened at 11, didn't we? So we'd open the Tunnel Bar, I think about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So everyone would come in the Tunnel Bar, and then we'd have local DJs in there. And then at 11 o'clock, the doors would open to the main room, and they'd go running down the stairs to the main room. And but again, so many local DJs. So it was nice.
Yeah.
Nice to do that. I've always, it's nice booking guest DJs, but at the same time, then you got to book them a 5-star hotel room, and you got to get them this flight and that, and the driver and this, and a certain mixer that they want, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough, but it's so much easier when it's just the local DJs, and they rock up, they play, and 99% of the time they're as good anyway. They are as good. They put the effort in, and they're amazing. So and you don't have all that hassle of having to deal with things for DJ riders and stuff. Just to finish on that, actually, DJ riders. We had one from, I think it was Todd Terry. It was one of the American DJs. And we had to get this fridge full of different kinds of grapes and drinks and fruits and all sorts of stuff. It was literally filled with everything off the rider. And when he arrived, me and Andy had actually taken Todd Terry out for some food. So we booked into a really nice restaurant, right? One of the top restaurants in Cardiff. I can't remember what it was, but we take him there, him and his buddy, the Todd Terry, his driver or whatever. And he wasn't very comfortable at all. And it was a really high-end restaurant. Okay. Yeah. And he actually said to us, he would have preferred to go to McDonald's and just have a burger. And we're like, and there was a bit of tension. It was a bit weird. And then all of a sudden, Andy started talking about boxing.
Yeah.
And he just opened up, and they connected, and they got on. And then it was great. We were like all night then.
Yeah.
Just this ice was broken, but it was a bit weird. But yeah, and when we got to the club, we said, "Oh, there's your fridge, all your stuff, everything." He was like, "What?" Oh, yeah, that's your rider stuff. And he was like, "Oh, no. It's just his agent or whatever, Just he was like, that's just bullshit, basically. Don't want any
jokes." And he said, "Get his own fridge." He did nothing at all about it.
Don't want any of it at all. He was like, "Oh no, you help me." I don't want any of that. It's just just get me a bottle of water.
Oh my goodness. Did they just put in the contract just to see if people do it?
They just put it in, and things like, you've got to book a 5-star or 2 5-star suites, one for the DJ, but also one for the driver or whatever. And there'd be times where we'd pay for these suites in St. David's, and then the next day we'd be told by the hotel they never even went there.
Wow.
They got in the car and they'd drive straight off back home or whatever, a DJ. So you'd spend £700-800
Yeah.
on 2 suites. And for a promoter,
Yeah.
you know, with tight margins and stuff,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff used to annoy us. And it was the agents.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
the DJs.
Yeah.
It was the agents. They didn't even know they had a hotel room.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be out of that kind of stuff. Because when I used to DJ overseas and stuff, you know, they'd say to me, "Oh, what do you want?" I'd be like a clean hotel.
Yeah.
A few drinks on the night, you know.
Yeah.
And pay for my parking at the airport. I think probably because I was thinking of it from a promoter point of view.
Of course.
It is for a promoter.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of these DJs have ever promoted a night and realize all the costs that go in with the security and marketing and everything, you know, and how it's difficult.
Well, marketing back in the 90s is completely different than it is now, and there was no social media. We had to go and pay for posters and put them around town and pay for billboards and all that sort of stuff. And
poster awards.
Yeah, poster awards. That's a different chat. That is. We'd have to get us all on you. We'd have to get us all on you and say, "Who did this to mine?" I think we all did it.
We all did it. Yeah,
I think we all did. Oh, funny. Well, that's my dog. Jim, it's been, you know what? Thank you so much for the amazing parties. Yeah, and I've loved this chat, and I'm looking forward to your next chapter as well. Wink, wink.
Yeah, it's going to be good. No, cheers, Dave. I've enjoyed this. It's been good.
Nice one, buddy. Take it easy.
Nice one.